Welcome to the First Church of Christ Congregational 1652. We are located at 75 Main Street in Farmington, Connecticut. If you have found us for the first time, we welcome you and are so glad you are joining us today. I am Kayla Barron, a graduating high school senior, and I am happy to have you worship with us on this Children's Sunday 2020. With the help of Ed Clark, the children and youth of First Church have put together a service we hope you enjoy. If you are a pledging member, please continue to donate. There is a donate button on our Facebook page as well as on our website, www.firstchurch1652.org. You can also snail mail in your payments via checks. Your pledge helps worships like today's special service to happen. It means a lot to children and youth to have a church home. As a reminder, we will have a community gathering to remember N.C. Richardson tomorrow evening, Monday, June 1st. Her family has put together a slideshow and it will be a meaningful way to celebrate such a special woman. Now please enjoy our Children's Sunday 2020 worship service. Today is Pentecost Sunday, so we are celebrating We Are the Church. Let us join together in joyful hearts and minds to worship God.
When the Feast of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Without warning, there was a sound like strong wind, gale force. No one could tell where it came from. It filled the whole building. Then, like a wildfire, the Holy Spirit spread through their ranks, and they started speaking in a number of different languages, as the Spirit prompted them. There were many Jews staying in Jerusalem just then, devout pilgrims from all over the world. When they heard the sound, they came on the run. Then when they heard one after another their own mother tongues being spoken, they were thunderstruck. They couldn't for the life of them figure out what was going on and kept saying,
"Aren't these all Galileans? How come we're hearing them talk in our various mother tongues?"
Parthians, Medes, and Elamites, visitors from Mesopotamia, Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, Egypt and the parts of Libya belonging to Cyrene, immigrants from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, even Cretans and Arabs.
They're speaking our languages, describing God's mighty works.
Their heads were spinning. They couldn't make head or tail of any of it. They talked back and forth, confused.
"What's going on here?"
Others joked.
"They're drunk on cheap wine."
That's when Peter stood up and, backed by the other 11, spoken out with bold urgency.
"Fellow Jews, all of you who are visiting Jerusalem, listen carefully and get this story straight. These people aren't drunk, as some of you suspect. They haven't had time to get drunk. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. This is what the prophet Joel announced would happen. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on every kind of people. Your sons will prophesy, also your daughters. Your young men will see visions. Your old men dream dreams. When the time comes, I'll pour out my spirit on those who serve me, men and women both, and the prophecy. I'll set wonders in the sky above and sign on the earth below, blood and fire and billowing smoke, the sun turning black and the moon blood red. Before the day of the Lord arrives, the day tremendous and marvelous, and whoever calls out for help to me, God will be saved.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light.
Today is Children's Sunday, the Sunday that we celebrate the children and youth in our midst, as well as allow them to have front and center expressing their faith. We made this coincide with Pentecost because Pentecost is the birthday of the church. It is that time when all those folks gathered to celebrate a feast, and then they heard each other and heard each other's faith in their same languages. And the Holy Spirit was swirling and working together to make this happen. And when it was all over, those people that had experienced such profound and deep faith in this moment together went out and started their own churches. And now here we are. And before we hear the voices of our kids and let them share the answers to the question we ask them, what makes church special for you? I want to tell you a story. When I was 5, we had just moved to Missouri, and we were invited to the house of Bert and Hazel for dinner. Bert and Hazel were members of my childhood congregation, and they were two women that had stayed single, and so as they grew older, they lived together. And I knew how I was supposed to behave when I went to dinner with them. My brother and I had very clear instructions from our mom. But as we gathered in their house and my mom and dad were talking to Bert and Hazel, my brother and I were left to our own devices, which is how I found myself in Hazel's room in front of her vanity with all of her makeup. And I helped myself to her lipstick. As you can imagine, my mom was horrified. But Bert and Hazel both laughed, and they were so kind and compassionate. So much so that I still remember that. I also had this Sunday school teacher named Helen, whose hands were always icy cold. She was so warm and giving and loving. But every time she would shake your hand or envelop you in a hug, she would say, "Cold hands, warm heart." And I still think about that every time someone's hands are cold. There was also this older couple, Walter and Frida Wieland, who were the people in charge of the quilting group at church. Both of them quilted. They were a married couple, and my friend Kim and I, the summer before our 6th grade year, asked if we could join them for one of their quilting days. The group would get together, I think Thursday mornings, and quilt and share stories, and they would make these beautiful quilts for people in our town. So they made space for us at the quilt and shared their thimbles and their thread and their needles. And they showed us how to make the stitches, and they weren't that great, but they let us keep them in. And they shared stories with us, and they asked us questions. And I still remember just how wonderful it was to be with them. And so we are in a time when we cannot gather in our building. But today, I want to remind you again that the church is the people. While I remember the church that I grew up in, I do remember the building, the stained glass windows. What I remember more and what I cherish most are Hazel and Bert and Walter and Frida and Helen and Melvin and Janice and Beulah and all these people who loved us, loved all the kids so much, taught us about faith, shared their stories with us, let us be silly, gave us deep belly laughs. Because that's what church is. And while what we know our building to be and our worship to be may be on pause, our faith together, our faith lives together is not on pause. And so when you hear the stories those children and youth are going to share today, I hope that you see what you have done in them. I hope you recognize that when they're talking about church, they're talking about you. And while we may not see each other face to face, know that we are still a family, a community, and that we still can be connected to each other through the phone and mail and the internet, which means that no matter what age you are able to reach out to one another. And I bet that if you picked up the phone and called one of the kids that you hear today just to check in on them, they'll remember that. They'll remember that more than playing in the balcony at the meeting house. They'll remember that more than the red carpet or standing up at the pulpit. Because we are the church. And what we do for each other is what makes us the church. So enjoy.
Hi, my name's Teddy, and I like seeing everybody at church every day and greeting people and giving peace.
What's special about our church is it's fun learning about the Bible.
What's special about being at church for me is being a part of coffee hour, being a part of choir, and being a part of church school or Sunday school. Bye.
What makes church special for me is the Christmas pageant.
What makes church special to me is Miranda, because she's the best.
So the first time when we were going around town visiting a bunch of churches with my mom's friend, and we came to this first church planning to just visit, see how it is, And one of the things that really drew me to stay here was the music. So when the week that we visited, they had maracas, the choir did, and they were singing and playing the maracas, and I was just like, we have to go here. So I think the thing that makes church special for me is how unique the music, how there's a whole music community around the whole church. So, yeah.
What makes church special for me is Miranda, 'cause she makes everything fun.
Asher, do you like our church? Is our church special?
So we're gonna go to it
When are we going to go to the church?
soon.
Why do you want to go to the church?
Because I love a lot of times I go to church.
You love the times you go to church? What do you love about it? What do you love?
I am the church, you are the church, we are the church together. All who follow Jesus all around the world, yes, we're the church together. The church is not a building, the church is not a steeple, the church is not a resting place, the church is a people. I am the church, you are the church, we are the church together. All who follow Jesus all around the world, yes, we're the church together. We're many kinds of people with many kinds of faces, all colors and all ages too, from all times and places. I am the church, you are the church, we are the church together. All who follow Jesus all around the world, yes, we're the church together. And when the people gather, there's singing and there's praying, there's laughing and there's crying, sometimes all of it saying, I am the church, you are the church, we are the church together. All who follow Jesus all around the world, yes, we're the church together.